Welcome to the February 2021 edition of the Oxcart Farm Video Adventures. In the Iliad, the blind poet Homer described the bow of Pandarus, an ally of the Trojans. He took his bow from its case. This bow was made from the horns of a wild ibex which he had killed as it bounded from a rock. He had stalked it, and it had fallen as the arrow struck it to the heart. Its horns were 16 palms long, and a worker in horn had made them into a bow, smoothing them well down and giving them tips of gold. Okay, in our first video, we did the basic work in producing a bow blank. I talked to you a little bit about that in an intervening video with information about what we're going to need to do to make this a usable bow blank. One of the problems we ran into, as I mentioned, was some difficulty with wood on the belly of the bow, and also the very fact that the trunk itself was so small that we wound up having to go a lot thinner to be able to produce a heartwood bow blank. That's led to some changes in the approach that we're going to take, as I described, and we're going to wind up using this to make a composite bow. That is a bow layered with the mulberry as the core, with sinew on the back of the bow, and with Oryx horn on the belly of the bow. Some people might call that a laminate bow, but that's normally ascribed to the use of modern materials, fiberglass and wood, and for the traditional bows they're typically called composite bows. Language is important, and I mentioned tools in that first video. Here are two other tools that I think are important. These are the first two volumes of the traditional Bowyer's Bible. If you're interested in beginning the process of making bows, those are going to be invaluable because they will help you solve problems as you encounter them and to anticipate problems before you run into them. As I said, language is important. I mentioned composite bow, laminate bow. We talked about a backed bow. This was one of the first successful bows that I made. This bow is made out of red elm. It is cut in a, I guess, a non-traditional way. Instead of following the one growth ring, this bow is cut down into the back of the bow is cut down to make a broad, flat bow, which was characteristic of the Stone Age European bows. But because of that, it is helped by having a backing on it. In this case, this is simply linen cloth that has been glued to the back of the bow to help provide strength and cut down on the possibility of bow breakage. I don't know how many hundred arrows have been shot through this bow, but because of the backing on it, it has held up well and looks like it's going to give me years and years more service. I use the term self bow. This is a piece of pecan. There is nothing else to it other than this arrow rest made from an antler tip. It followed a single growth ring, mainly because all I did to the back of the bow was peel the bark off. That has not been worked down at all. And even with these grooves that were natural in the back of the bow, we've shot many, many arrows out of this, and it is holding up well. It's about a 45-pound pecan bow, and this is a true self bow in the sense that it's made out of one piece of wood. One of the things that we've been waiting for, and I said this would take a while, one of the things we've been waiting for is the horn that's going to be used for the belly of the bow. Sinew on the back to handle tension, horn on the belly to handle compression. That gives you the most effective bow. I'm excited about this. I haven't seen it. Been waiting for it to come in. And let's take a look together. We'll do an unboxing and see what this looks like. Now this is Oryx or Gemsbach horn. I'll get into the tape here. There we go. Do this portion of it. Let's see if we can go from the end. Yep. There we go. Invoice. Newspaper. I think this is from St. Augustine. There is a company there that imports these. And let's see what we've got. That is the horn. What we'll do, you can see the thickness here, saw that through this section all the way down. We get into the solid area here, and we will then steam this horn material or boil it. It works either way, steam it or boil it. Put it in a press and flatten it out. I was hoping it might be a possibility that I'd have enough diameter here that I could take half of it and then split that half. In other words, take a quarter of it to actually place on the belly of the bow. We'll have to take a look at that once we get it flattened out. That way I would have half the horn left for another project. But we will evaluate that. Check the thickness, because once you get it flattened out, then you'll want to thin it down to about 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, this is 0.16 there, but you've got greater thickness on these where the ridges are. The decision will have to be made how much, because it's smooth on the inside, how much of this ridge do we want to retain for appearance sake as much as anything else. But this looks like this is going to be very usable. It's natural material, like the wood is natural material. So we'll have to see what we run into as we work on it. But we've got our horn now. I've got availability on either sinew or rawhide. I may choose to use rawhide on the back as opposed to sinew. It'll work either way. But now we're getting all of our materials together. Hopefully the next video you see will involve working with the horn, getting it prepped to apply to the belly of the bow, and the rawhide or sinew for the back. Then the basic bow will be completed and we can start doing the fine tuning on it. Thank you for watching. I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, give comments as you can, criticisms as long as they're constructive. Love to hear from you with questions about future videos that you would like to see. Anything that has to do with outdoor hunting, fishing, gardening, we're going to be involved in it and would love to do the things that you would like to see. Thanks again.